Hello everyone, I'm Justin, and for today's video, we're going house hunting.
うっかり罠を踏むと落ちますから。
The struggles of growing up. Leaving the nest to fend for ourselves and finding a new place to call home. At some point in our lives, we will all have to experience this feeling. And I have not seen a better depiction of this than the perfectly named Dragon Ghost House Hunting. For those who don't know, the anime focuses on Letty, a young and incredibly weak dragon that was recently kicked out of his nest by his father. Now, without a place to stay, he joins forces with the real estate agent elf / demon lord Dieria, looking for somewhere to go home. This is a story-driven fantasy slice-of-life anime that, honestly, fits any audience. Either by its well-taught story focusing on the struggles of finding a house and growing up, the incredibly fleshed-out world building and depictions of fantastical beings, or, of course, the silly comedy that gives you a good laugh every now and then. But before we move on, I want to give a fair warning that I'll be giving some spoilers about the anime as well as its ending, so please take that in consideration. And with that said, let's talk about Dragon Ghost House Hunting. As I mentioned before, the anime mainly focuses on a dragon called Letty, looking for a new home with the help of an elf called Dieria. Letty is incredibly weak, unable to fly, breathe fire, or even fend for himself against the weakest of creatures. And most of the times, he has to be protected by Dieria, who is a powerful magician with the title of Demon Lord. Unfortunately for Letty, these helping acts end up backfiring later on, as the accomplishments of fending off against the hero party and fighting invaders and bandits are mistakenly attributed to Letty, earning him the nickname of Flame Dragon Lord, which just makes more people go after his head. Throughout the story, the area promotes a new home to Letty. Caves infested with monsters, which of course are too much for Letty. A haunted house filled with ghosts and skeletons that almost gives a heart attack to Letty. But who could have guessed it? They are nice people to anyone but humans. But still scary for the poor dragon. And they even go to the lengths of building a home that would fit all the requirements that Letty wants. A quiet and isolated place, safe from the pesky adventurers and hunters going after the high-quality materials that are dragon body parts. While later on the story branches out from just looking for a home, the first few episodes give a glimpse of what the story is about, the end goal for Letty, the world building, and the interactions between our two main leads. So let's talk about the world building. We're set in a typical fantasy RPG world, but rather than looking at it from the viewpoint of humans, we're given the perspective of the monsters, trying to live a peaceful life inside their lairs, until adventurers and hunters come in to kill them for materials, or to steal their valuables. The show is very self-aware on treating this as a video game, seeing how even when the heroes are killed, they can be simply brought back to life in your local shrine, or the depictions of dungeons in which the monsters treat it as a job, pretending to be defeated by novice adventurers while getting paid by the government. This gives both a feeling of nostalgia towards old RPG games, but it also keeps the story lighthearted and funny, which I greatly appreciated when your typical fantasy stories try to take themselves too seriously. This anime knows how to take jabs towards those type of shows and gives an unexpected comedy vibe that made me enjoy it way more. Later on, we're introduced to more characters such as Pip, the iced bird that gives a new dynamic of child-parent relationship with Letty and makes him grow as a character, giving him reasons to stand up and fight, even when he's still really weak. And Nell, the runaway princess of a kingdom that brings more conflict into our main character's story. As for the story, Later on, we also learned the area's past and why he took on the job of real estate agent and architecture, as well as to why he is set on getting Letty a house. And we're also given brief stories about other minor characters that just help to make the whole story more entertaining. A great example of this is the Gladiator Dungeon, in which monsters live a relatively comfortable life in which they just have to fight pretend matches for the entertainment of a human audience. Another thing to enjoy about this anime is the opening. More often than not, we usually get the typical pop song for an anime that really doesn't stand out. But for this anime, they went above and beyond. The animation goes in between normal anime to 2D RPG vibes. The animation is crisp. That transition of the different hands reaching towards Letty is so good. And the music is a vibe on itself. It has that folk song feeling, full with bagpipes and background singers shouting with the main singer that, honestly, looked like he was having a blast recording the song. As for the last few episodes of the anime, they introduce Nell, the princess of a kingdom, and after a few episodes traveling together, they end up back in her place, where Letty is forced to escape from the guards and ends up helping Nell to fix things with her dad and make an escape with the area, taking them to yet another journey to find a home where Letty can truly live a calm and peaceful life. In a sense, the story went in a full circle and took us back to the beginning of the story. Not with a fulfilling conclusion, but with a promise that there are still more stories to tell and more houses to check. This anime aired between April to June of 2021, based off a manga that recently, in December of 2022, finished. With a spin-off manga currently ongoing, there is hope that the anime will have a second season, as the first season was met with overall positive reception. And if not, you can always go back to read the source material. Overall, this is an enjoyable, light-hearted anime with some depth to the characters, especially with the inclusion of monsters that are not generally portrayed in fantasy animes, strong comedy, and a lovable main lead. If you haven't watched this anime yet, I recommend you to give it a try. And with that said, we come to the conclusion of this anime review. What do you guys think of Dragon Ghost House Hunting? Let me know in the comments below. Until then, see you guys next time.